Yo, what's up? This is Drake here. It's coming back with another Monster Hunter Wilds build video. And this is, in my opinion, I guess it's just all how you play, but this is probably the best build I've come up with after Title Update 1. And really, it's not a lot different than the original build I did, other just incorporating the Mitsune legs so that we can wind up with full burst, still 100% affinity, and a little better 100% affinity, I think, because if you're fighting Zoshia, you notice that there a lot of times you're not getting a yellow hit, so your weakness exploit is just not activating all that much. So this is more of a to combat that type thing. But unfortunately, like stuff like dual blades and bow are still kind of lagging behind because there's still no way to consistently proc maximum might with either of those two, and there's really nothing to replace it other than latent power or agitator, both of which are kind of out of your control to maintain. So this build doesn't function all that great. I mean, full burst for dual blades is awesome, but like I said, losing the 30% for maximum might is just a big downside to that type of play, and it really sucks because I love both of those. But in my opinion, though, anything that's stamina dependent or stamina hungry is just kind of falling behind because maximum might is just such a good way to get extra affinity before they come out with some other better alternative for it. But anyway, I won't dig on that too long when we get into the build here. And I've took to really liking to run Sword and Shield. I think it might be my new favorite weapon. It's so mobile, so defensive, yet so offensive too at the same time. It's just such a great weapon. Alright, but we'll kind of go over now. Unfortunately, this does kind of require Ardian, and what we're doing, and it kind of requires a specific Ardian. Since the nerfs to Corrupted Mantle, now it only gives you 10% affinity instead of 30. All those builds that were depending on that, and they nerfed the duration by 30%, or 30 seconds, sorry, and they've lowered the amount of damage it does too. Your builds are going to be doing significantly less damage, especially if you were depending on that 2 minutes of 30% affinity to make you hit that 100% cap. So now I think the new meta, or at least for me, is shifting to you want an Ardian with 20% affinity at base, as you can see that I've got here. And what mine, these aren't perfect rolls, but what I did was when I was building 2 attack and 1 affinity roll, and then you're hoping to get 2 affinity rolls on the follow-up, and then honestly it probably couldn't roll much better, like 2 sharpness on Sword and Shield, and attack boost is great because Zoshia is a long fight, and having to stop and sharpen during the fight is really a DPS drop more than not, rolling another 5 attack but having to stop and sharpen twice as often. You know what I mean? So with this setup, I can run almost like 5 minutes on Zoshia before I drop out of blue sharpeners and have to sharpen again. So really, more uptime's more damage, in my opinion. That's kind of it. Now the other thing that I've changed, you can drop 1 expert jewel on here, and unfortunately the only weapon that comes with 20% base as far as Sword and Shield goes is the Gore Magala, I think, which is a good dragon. That would be a good alternative, but you're still going to drop some DPS because it don't have the 3 slots, because you want crit boost, you want 3 expert, and then you want your master's jewel, because most of the time we're hitting around 86% affinity most of the time. So this master's touch reduces our sharpness loss by 80% while we're doing crits, and we're doing crits all above 80% of the time. So we're getting a huge sharpness reduction, which just allows us to stay in that white sharpness a whole lot longer. And that's kind of what we're shooting for, more uptime, more damage. And if you didn't know, sharpness is a damage multiplier. When you drop from white to blue, I believe you drop 10%, but when you drop from blue to green, I believe you drop another 15%. So it's like a 25% damage reduction to drop from white to green. So you want to prevent that as much as possible. So, me as said, that's what we're running to get 32% base affinity plus 30% from our maximum might, which Sword and Shield is excellent at keeping active 100% of the time, which I will show in a minute. So we're sitting at 62%, and then when we overcome the frenzy virus, we get another 25% affinity from our 2-piece gore running our 3 antivirus here from our sane jewels. So I mean, that's What is it? We're at 62. That puts us at 87% affinity. And then we managed to squeak out another 15%. Sorry, wrong one. From weakness exploit, which puts us at 102% when we're hitting those yellow hits. So it's kind of more unconditional affinity, but we still hit that 100% when we are getting those yellow hits. We're still getting a decent amount of crit boost at 34% all the time, and we managed to squeeze in full burst. And we still have a little bit of comfort being able to throw in shock absorber for multiplayer and being able to run like one recovery up. And coalescence is kind of nice because it procs off of the gore. Now we are still getting the 2-piece gore, but I also kept the 2-piece arc build just for the hasten recovery, because honestly, recovering that like 5% health ever so many hits just allows you to stay hyper aggressive. And anytime you take a hit or take some chip damage, if you don't take a follow-up hit, most of the time you can regen your health and never have to disengage to pop a health potion. So, I mean, in my opinion, more uptime means more DPS. If you're not stopping to heal, if you're not stopping to sharpen, that is major DPS boost. All right, and the only downside, if really is a downside, is for some reason the Mitsune and the arc build stack together to give you alluring pelt, so it increases the attention drawn to you when attacking a monster. So if you're running this setup, you're going to be getting more aggro from the monster than anyone else in the multiplayer, unless they're running the same setup also. So I don't know if that's an upside or a downside, but it's just something to take into consideration. Alright, now the other alternative, I would say, you know, if you wanted to, is to swap out the 2-piece arc build for the new the Zoshia. I've got it here somewhere. I don't even know where it is. Maybe I didn't make the arms. Anyway, you can swap out the 2 pieces for the Zoshia with the super recovery, but the only problem with that is dropping the waist piece. You drop the 2 points of weakness exploit and you don't regain it back. Now the arms aren't that great with convert element, which does activate on this build, which I'll show in a minute, which is a nice little damage bump, just a little, not a lot, and the fact that it adds dragon to your attacks also helps some. But the fact that it has 2 slots and a 1 allows us to stack our maximum might on here and be able to run a burst talisman to get full burst on this setup. So, I mean, all in all, it's kind of, everything works pretty well. I don't know how much you could fidget with it, but like I said, if you wanted to go for the new set and to go for the new super recovery, which I haven't tested yet, it might be better. But I know that this set is very consistent, and as long as you're landing hits, you're constantly healing. So, I mean, it's very good. Now, we will have to activate our stuff because, like I said before, the gore stuff doesn't activate in the training room, so you just can't actively see it without activating it. And, yeah, I mean, we can go ahead and activate Convert Element. As you can see, while active, deals extra dragon damage. After dealing enough elemental damage, slightly increases dragon attack. What it does, though, it doesn't say, is after dealing enough dragon damage, you get a pop for like 150 damage, almost like a blast pop. So, I mean, it's just a little bit extra. And, you know, most all monsters have element. You take an elemental hit, which does count through guard. If you guard it and you still take a little elemental chip damage, that counts to activate it too. Only bad part is it's got a cooldown. I think it lasts for 90 seconds and it's on cooldown for like 30. So yeah, it is that. But we will activate this and just kind of show, like right now we're at 62% affinity. And we'll get our overcome our frenzy here, which is indicated by the top meter up above. All right, we just overcome it. So now we're at 87% affinity, and plus we get that extra 15% from hitting the weak spot. So when we get our burst active, fully we're at 328 and 514 element. They said this This build kind of benefits best by running an element, and burst does work on any element. Now your convert element won't work. I mean, you still get the dragon pops, but you won't get the extra dragon damage. But it is kind of best to run an elemental weapon with this setup, just because burst, you're losing that. I believe it gives 140 element at max stacks, and as you can see up there, like 2 hits, you're at max stacks. Our coalescence deactivated originally, that was a little different, but yeah, at like 2 or 3 hits, you're at max stacks. So basically, you're always, I think it might be the most consistent damage buff in the game, because as long as you're landing hits, it's up. You know what I mean? It ain't like peak performance where you have to be at max health or anything like that. And honestly, there's just not that many armor damage skills that you can actually run in a set, so you're kind of very limited. That's why I think of all of them, burst is probably the most consistent, because most of them's 3-star slots, which are kind of hard to come by, and most of them are very situational. Adrenaline rush, I've tested, it only lasts like 20 seconds after you get, and it doesn't stack, so it has to time out before it can be reactivated, so it's not that great. I mean, we already got weakness exploit. Challenger is, you know, it's based on the monster being enraged. It's good, but I would say the monster's not going to be enraged more than 50% of the fight. So whatever value you're getting here, you can half it, and that's what you're probably actually getting. Latent power is good, but there again, it's on a timer. It's up for 2 minutes, down for 2 minutes. So 50% of the fight is actually active. Whatever it's giving, you can half that. And the burst is after 5 successive hits, you get the full stack. You get a stack on first hit, but you get full stacks after 5 hits. So I mean, that's, and most any fast hitting weapon you're going to, now something like great sword, you're not going to benefit from running this. But this build, I would say, does really, really well for anything like sword and shield, long sword. It works really well on light bow gun, and probably lance or gun lance. Also, this would be a really good build for it. It's just anything that requires stamina or is slow heating, it's not going to be as effective for, because it's harder to proc burst. But I mean, that's just kind of it for the build. I don't think I've missed anything. If I have, leave it down in the comments. But like I said, for me, I think this is the new best setup. Now, I tend to go more towards the gore, head, and chest, just because you get that 3 evade window from it, and you get 1 level of coalescence. The 3 evade window to me just makes it super comfy, so that you can roll a lot of attacks with ease, rather than, you know, being stationary and taking a lot of attacks. And like I said, you could swap out the 2-piece arc belt for, you probably want to keep the waist, but you could, if you didn't want to worry about keeping the arc belt set bonus for the healing upon hits, you could swap this out for basically anything. Just try to keep the same jewel slottage. But just the new addition is the 2 levels of burst from the feet on the Mitsune, which is really nice and allows us to get that full burst bonus, which is pretty big. I mean, 26 raw and like 140 element active 100% of the time that you're attacking. It's really good. And we're still hitting 100% affinity because of our Ardian weapon. So kind of best of both worlds. But anyway, that's the build. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. If you want to see more, help support the channel, give that sub button a click, and just let me know that people are enjoying the content. As always, thanks for watching.